Good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford with you this morning. Margie, last night, they kind of had a very impromptu candlelight vigil for the victims of gun violence, and of course the catalyst was Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Right.
But it wasn't about Charlie Kirk last night, and I will had to fuss a little bit. Now, of course, this was very little impromptu, and so I know that prominent Democrats were invited, but none showed up. And I understand, because they probably weren't sure what this was going to be, and afraid it was going to be, it'd be about praising Charlie Kirk, but it was just a candlelight vigil for the victims of gun violence, all victims. So, but anyway, it was really, it was short, but I don't know. It was. I've got video on Facebook if you ever want to check it out. But it was well attended for being something on short notice. But anyway, it was not political at all. So
good.
But
I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I know when you're invited to something like this, you don't know.
Especially when there had been nothing proposed when Democratic lawmakers had been shot in their homes.
Well, this was for all the gun violence victims.
No, I understand.
Including.
Yeah. And as it should be.
Right.
As it should be. And I'm glad to hear that's the way it was.
Well, that's, of course, I think that was on everybody's mind.
Right.
But it wasn't just for, Republican victims or, it was. And really, it was kind of a call to, don't, we need to set hate aside, and that sometimes that's kind of driven by even social media.
Well, I would say mostly by social media.
Exactly, right. And I know John Snow was one of the speakers, and he was like, we just need to get back to face-to-face conversations. And
our Democratic leader is planning on doing that.
Well, we need to, civil conversations, and John's advice was, if you're not comfortable talking politics, or, don't talk politics. Talk about your grandchildren, talk about your garden, talk about things you have in common and not the things you don't.
Right.
Whether you like Charlie Kirk or not, it's not the issue here. We don't. Anyway, all right, enough about that.
But I how, Jim, I strive to widen our vocabularies here, and I always try to present you with a gem every now and then that we might find useful at some time or another.
Sure.
And there are certain words in other languages that say things that there's no English word for, such as Schadenfreude.
That's what?
Well, it's a German word which means pleasure at seeing someone else's bad luck.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's not the word I'm bringing forward.
Oh, okay.
There is a word in Finnish that is, I have to look at this, Kalsara Kanat. And the word has a meaning that there's no other English word that can do it. And do you know what that meaning is?
I have no idea.
All right. It is to get drunk alone at home in your underwear. So if ever you are feeling you need to get drunk at home alone and in your underwear, that is Kalsara Kanat.
How do you say that again?
Kalsara Kanat.
Well,
Kalsara.
I don't know if I can remember that or not.
I'll make sure you don't, because now you might find it useful one time or another.
Well, I might, but I don't know. And actually, I quit drinking probably, let's see, more than 40 years ago. I don't partake, and once in a while I'll have a mint julep.
Much less alone at home in your underwear. Huh?
Well, now, I do a lot at home alone in my underwear. But usually I'm on the computer updating the Nelson County Gazette or something. But,
well, just in case you get drunk while you're doing it, that's the word for you.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, Margie. I feel
always
a little more enlightened than I did when I walked in today.
Oh yeah. Well, me too. When I read it, I thought that was hilarious. Anyway.
All right, I'll let you introduce our very special studio guest.
Well, we
today.
do have a very special studio guest, Olivia Railey, who is one of the best additions we've had to the police department here in some time.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Margie.
So, Olivia, I am not sure is your exact title, so you tell us.
Yeah, so it is a social service specialist, and in other departments, it's called a police social worker. So those are interchangeable terms. Mm-hmm. So essentially, it is someone who has a background or a degree that specializes in social work, and they are embedded in the police department. So a lot of times, social work services would be dispatched out, or they would be third-partied between police departments and people in need. But now we have someone who is physically in the police department. So
Right.
it's a very new but becoming very popular across the country, much less the state of Kentucky.
Well,
We're popping up everywhere.
Right. But I know and realize that in domestic violence situations and situations of that type,
Yeah.
your services would be invaluable. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so especially with domestic violence, it's been around forever. Nothing's new. But now we have other options for officers who are called directly to the scene. A lot of times what would happen with individuals who were involved with domestic violence, whether it's perpetrator, whether it's victim, survivor, whatever may have you, officers would be able to only provide so many resources or so many options legality-wise. But now, with me, they have another option in their tool belt. Me and a couple officers are very, very close to working on cases of domestic violence together because we have such a good rapport now, and they know if they call me, then these are the steps that are going to be taken. So it's more of a warm handoff with officers handing off victims and survivors to me, and even children who are involved in domestic violence.
Right.
Now we have eliminated the barrier of time, so it's not.
So do you
Yeah.
do you go on the call with the officer, or are you
Yes.
ready to be called?
Both, yes, ma'am. So, officers will get there first, and they will, or I'm closely behind.
Right.
They will assess the scene, make sure that perpetrator, victim are separated to the best of our capability, and then I will predominantly work with the survivor or victim of domestic violence to make sure that they know their legal options a little more in depth, just because when officers are there, they are trying to handle every emergency that is thrown at them.
Right.
And so they are trying to de-escalate the situation as quickly as possible, and sometimes if the survivor has questions, sometimes they have to be put aside just for a moment while the emergency is handled, and then the survivor may forget to follow up, or officers may not know, or things sometimes unfortunately just slip during emergencies. And so now we have another safety net in their tool belt to say, you can either contact Olivia or she will be here. Most of the time I'm there. So officers will have me come out after everything is de-escalated to the best of their ability, and we will assess if that survivor needs better housing accommodations. If they have children, then we want to make sure that the children are the safest priority, and make sure that they are safe if the survivor stays in the home, or if they have to move, making sure the kiddos are still in school, they have the resources they need. And if the survivor has work, then I've written a lot of letters on behalf of survivors that say, hey, this is what's going on, in as much detail as they're comfortable giving their employer, saying they may have to miss work for a little while this is going on. Or we've been able to, Judge Kelly has been really instrumental with this, we're able to offer Zoom instances if EPOs have to be filed or when the hearing comes about, so that the survivor does not have to be in the physical courtroom with the perpetrator any longer. And so that is a wonderful, wonderful step that the courts are taking, and a lot of people don't know about it. And so just having that capability of having another person talk to them while the emergency is still being handled, they're taken aside and able to be talked to one-on-one.
Olivia, I think your services have been needed by police departments, well, not just here, but everywhere, because law enforcement just really, aren't trained in dealing with social services matters. I mean, they have for years, and they've done the best they, with their experience and training they have, but it's not an ideal situation.
Absolutely, and they are, Chief Kresick, who could not be here today, she's handling some business back at the office. She stays very busy, as you can imagine.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But one of her favorite quotes is that a lot of times with social service items, law enforcement is able to put a Band-Aid on it rather than dive more into the situation, just because our trainings are completely different. They don't do my job, I don't do their job. We come together and work together to make sure that the outcome, we all want the same outcome.
Sure.
And so now we get more tools and resources available to both the officers and the victims of crime. And so that's been a really beautiful marriage of both departments, social services and law enforcement. We're able to handle and assist a lot more individuals who, if they do seem to have an emergency and other social service things under the umbrella arise, they're able to call me, since law enforcement is trained in their particular avenue. And they do an amazing job. I will give them their props right now, because a lot of them know a lot of the resources that are in the community. However, if you have, calls backing up, then those are going to take priority. And so that's where I come in to further assist with the situation.
Well,
Can you think of any particular case in which your being there has made a huge difference? I know it does in every case, but I'm just saying, if you any particular one that stands out to you in your experience so far?
I think any that involve domestic violence, just because there are so many steps and such a long process to get, especially a victim needs to be relocated for their safety. That takes a lot of time, and officers...
And you can expedite that?
Yes, and so with this position, the greatest thing it has ever done for people being connected to services is it eliminates the barrier of time, a lot of times. So officers have, like I said, they have calls backing up, or they have other priorities that they need to take care of, and not saying that this isn't important, because it absolutely is. That's not their wheelhouse. And so we go on a lot of domestic violence calls, and if somebody has to be relocated to a safer situation, officers are able to handle all of the legal stuff with the perpetrator or explain it to the victim, things like that. I get to follow up with them as many times as needed to get them to a safer spot. So if somebody needs to be relocated out of state, out of the city, or just to a safer part of the city, then I'm able to do that while officers are handling all of the paperwork and legal aspects of the call. And so that's been something that's been instrumental to the community. A few other ones, people who are homeless, we've had a very, very strong connection with Bethany Haven in the community. Me and those ladies are on a first name basis. We are family now. we've been able to assist and help a lot of individuals who are either passing through Bardstown or who have been displaced and left here in Bardstown. We've been able to assist a lot of those individuals either get into safer programs or into transitional housing. Sometimes permanent housing. I don't do a lot of permanent housing just because it's a very, very long process. I will assist the best I can, but usually by the permanent housing.
Well, who would end up doing that, helping them with that?
Yeah, so Bethany Haven assists with permanent housing. They have a case manager there, and she is phenomenal. She's wonderful. But there are other services in the community that help with permanent housing. A lot of times it's knowing the right landlords or knowing what's available, what is becoming available. And so once an individual is in Bethany Haven's program, then they are working on permanent housing, but anyone is able to gain access to their services, and the focus is always being housed first. So individuals that stay at Room in the Inn or who are in Christie's Place, Harbor House, the main focus is always permanent and stable housing.
Well, are you able to find permanent housing for people?
Well,
I mean,
Margie,
to me it seems like that is we have a dearth of housing, for affordable housing.
It is a challenge. Tina, I don't know how she works her magic, but she does. She is absolutely incredible at what she does. Michael, Leslie, all the ladies at Bethany Haven. I don't know how they do it, but they do. They have been able to house so many individuals with permanent, stable housing. In my position, we usually handle a lot of the emergency housing placement or transitional housing, which is self-explanatory. You know, the emergency, then you have your transitional, then you have your permanent housing. And sometimes we've been able to permanently house people. It's kind of the luck of the draw when I'm able to do that. Back in Louisville, I used to do it a lot more often just because that was what I did, was permanent housing down there.
And that was more available.
Yes. You know, things are expensive, and it just makes it a little bit more challenging, but they do an incredible job at getting people housed in permanent, stable situations. And we've developed a wonderful relationship between the police department and Bethany Haven.
Great.
Well, and I can tell you, having adult children who are going out on their own, how expensive it can be.
Oh my!
To first and last month's rent, utility deposits. It can take a bundle of cash to really get set up on your own.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
And you need decent employment. I mean, there's lots of steps in that process, and it can be time consuming and complicated.
Yeah, and we've been able to, I have the numbers from July. We were able to connect over 60 individuals to employment services, whether it's with the Career Center, whether it's individuals that we know in the community, but as of July, it was over 60.
Wow.
And the Career Center is a fabulous, fabulous resource. They have done such a good job with all the renovations and all the people that are in there now.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Where is that?
It is where the driver's license, well, no, you all used to have, it was the unemployment office deemed for a long time. Right by Justin Hall at the correctional facility.
Okay, out that front part?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay, all right.
And people can just walk in, or they can have an appointment with career coaches down there, but there's a little kiosk at the front. There's always somebody at the front desk, well, predominantly somebody at the front desk, and you can just put in your information and they will assist you with resume building. And you have a career coach down there as well if you would like to stay on long term and things like that. So they provide a lot of assistance with individuals.
Who heads that up?
Well, Olivia,
Pardon?
Who heads that up?
I don't know who does that now. If I'm honest with you, I'm not sure.
That's okay.
I am not sure. I will get back to you on that,
Go
Margie.
ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no problem. What are the, I guess in a month's time, what are the most common issues that here in Bardstown that you have to address? I mean, is it, domestic violence? Is it housing? Because, I mean, the public becomes aware from time to time of homelessness, and sometimes it's one of the least visible issues we have. Because people may not even realize it, that there are homeless people until some of them, you see people. I mean, the city's done a good job of policing that, but also the flip side of that is helping people who are homeless.
Yes.
And so anyway, just curious what your caseload in a month. I'm sure it's all over the place.
Yes, we wear a lot of hats, and the officers, whenever they see somebody who is homeless in the community, they will either call me or Bethany Haven. Usually they'll call Bethany Haven first, and then if they're tied up, they call me, and then if I'm tied up, we bounce a lot of it off of each other, which is great. So there are very few homeless people who are quote unquote missed in the community that have not been assessed for services. Michaela and Leslie, they do a lot of the outreach. So with Bethany Haven, they have an outreach program to where it is literally people who are staying on the physical street who do not have a place to stay. They are the ones who are assisting those individuals to try to get to the next step, things like that. In a month, Jim, it depends, and that's a horrible answer.
Well, I could also see
it ebbs and flows.
I could almost see it being seasonal, too.
Yes.
I mean, that may sound crazy, but I imagine.
No.
I don't know. I can only, just speaking from experience, how stressful things can get like around the holiday.
Yes.
And you have dealing with, and I shouldn't say that, dealing with family, and then just the
You're not wrong.
And then just dealing with the holidays.
Yes.
I mean, so many times holidays can bring back bad memories and trigger depressive episodes.
Nationally, the holiday season is peak time for domestic violence, and there's a lot of different factors where people are with their families more, and if they do not have a good relationship with their families, tempers flare, things like that, or it's just not a good situation for whatever reason. Right. Also, it's cold, and so people are more bundled up. They are staying more together with people that they live with. So that sparks it. And Christmas and New Year's Eve are the top 2 days of the year for suicide rates to peak as well. So
expectations are high.
Yeah. Right. And if you don't have any family, if you're all alone, or if you've had a really, really bad year, or, whatever the factor may be, those are the 2 dates that nationally suicide rates are the highest. But back to a month, with crime waves, social services has their waves as well, where we may get a lot of peak calls for people who need rental assistance. Now, we can't assist with that, but that might be something where we receive a lot of calls and we have to dispatch things out to other communities who can help with that. Or maybe it's a peak of child abuse calls, or it's a peak of domestic violence, or people who are have substance misuse, things like that. So it does ebb and flow, but if you put all of that into a melting pot, that's where we come in. That would be our month, pretty much. Take a little here, take a little there, and that's what we see.
Right. Well, I guess variety is the spice of life for your work.
You're never bored, Jim. You're never bored, ever.
Well, I think our community is really blessed to have forward-thinking leaders who made your job possible.
Oh, absolutely.
I did look.
Compassion fatigue is a real thing, and officers who have tried to do the same things, or they've tried to look at it at a different view. Sometimes it just takes a different perspective, and I do the same thing. For them, if I've run into the same individual over and over and over, then we'll bounce ideas back off of each other of, hey, officer so-and-so.
This isn't working.
What do you think? Or, what have you tried? We all have a really good rapport with each other, which is great. It makes the job. If you don't have a good rapport with the community as well as the officers that are around you, it's not going to be successful. So that's step one, is to make sure that everybody knows the same outcome and everybody has the same goal. And that's been the key to all of it, is everybody wants the same thing, is everybody to be safe, everybody to be in a healthy home, happy home, things like that. And those just need an extra step of help, then that's what we're both here for, which has been a really good thing to show people, because that hasn't been historically what has happened. Usually it's been pretty separate, which is fine, which is fine. It's just a new wave of policing meets social services.
Well, you're seeing people at maybe one of the worst times in their lives.
Yes.
And so the police work is about tending to the law, and there's not much room in there for the helpful listening ear and the sit down and let's talk about it thing.
Right, and they, like you said, they have their set of rules, and then I have my set of rules, and so there's different red tape for both of our positions, but because we're now together in the same unit, same department,
right,
a lot more options have been able to be opened. There were a lot of resources for people who were using substances, people who were homeless, people who are experiencing domestic violence, things like that, to where there weren't a lot of options with law enforcement. And now they do have options, and that has lessened, the load and the compassion fatigue to a degree with them, because now they are able to say, well, here, I have an option. This is something that I can help with. And the officers, that we have are super great about really going the above and beyond. I can't get into too specifics of cases, but there was one recently with an older adult that she was living alone and couldn't care for herself. And if somebody didn't call, then nobody would know. And officers spent so much personal time with them. I came out there and we just really spent a lot of time with her to make sure that she was able to be safe and she was able to get things taken care of. Otherwise, that she couldn't, because she had no family anymore.
Well, that is that happens all too often.
Yes, every day it happens.
Also, do you think about in uncertain financial times, if people have a loss of a job? I've read someone saying that almost everybody is one paycheck away from being homeless.
Right.
There were a couple individuals that we talked to yesterday that are homeless in the community, and she said, my rent was increased by a couple $100 and I don't have it. And so they were forced to leave their home, and now we're trying to find a better situation for them. But we hear that, I won't say daily, because it's not every physical day,
Right.
but it's very, very often that we do. Yes.
Well, I've read that the average rent for a home in Nelson County is over $1,000 a month.
And I don't know the exact number on that, but I would believe it.
I think I'd read like 1,200 a month or something like that. I could be wrong on that. I just remember it was over 1,000.
Yeah. And
Which shocked the heck out of me.
Well, yeah, and if you think about it, there are some, individuals that are on fixed income, and Social Security is not increasing.
No.
And
health insurance is increasing.
Yes, and people who are on a fixed income, if you're counting down to the nickels and dimes, you can't accommodate for $100 increase or different things.
Not unless you want to quit eating.
Yes, exactly. Yes, what are you going to give up versus
Right.
staying in your home? Yes.
Right. Well, I know that we'll be addressing some of that. I think probably on a future show because everything's going up, taxes and everything, and if you're on a fixed income, that pot of money is just so big.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line? Is it medications?
No.
Because if you're on Medicaid or Medicare, prescriptions can be horribly expensive.
Oh yeah.
And you do without the medicine that your health needs, or for my wife and I, we don't smoke. We can't give up our cigarettes because we never had them.
Yeah.
It's like we can't cut that out of our budget. There's nothing there.
Right.
Same with beer and alcohol. Well, we don't drink, so that's not in our budget either. So, we could cut out dog food, but do we love our dog?
Yeah.
And that's not a huge expense anyway. Mm-hmm. And besides, that's
it's where do you cut? And and you can't fight the cuts because you got to have health insurance or drug insurance. For example, the cost of my drug insurance, not drugs, is increasing $500 this year.
Wow.
And that's just for.
Is that
and it's already
increase?
Once you do the monthly, it's $500 total for the year.
Oh, okay.
But it's already over $1,000 a month, and that doesn't count what you pay for the medicine. Even after the insurance pays on it, because the medicine's like $1,500 or something like that. It's really crazy when you start thinking about it.
Yes.
Well,
You can't afford to get sick.
No.
I just recently went on Part D Medicare, and so you've got this whole list of
That's
plans.
what I'm talking about. That Part D.
Yeah, and so and they all have a cost, but that cost is not fixed. So it's like, well, it's kind of a gamble. Who do you choose?
You don't know.
And
you really don't.
What's it going to cost you in a year?
Yeah, that's what I'm. And this is the time of year when all that comes due.
Right.
Along with taxes.
Yeah.
Insurance.
Right.
So house insurance and car insurance. Mm-hmm. At least in my house, they all come and due this coming month. And you've got to, and plus you have all of these Medicare Advantage people calling, trying to get you to change plans. No. If you're over 55 or whatever, you're going to get called.
Oh yeah, that's bombarded.
You can't answer the phone anymore.
No,
because you're going to get stuck talking to somebody about changing your plan.
Well, what's worse than stuck talking with someone is not talking to anybody, but hearing some robocall about or someone who's calling from a foreign country who barely speaks English.
Right.
Who can't even pronounce your first name correctly. But yeah, that.
I do a lot of. What'd you say?
Well, I have this thumb here for hanging up on. Of course, the robocalls kill me because this, it's like you say hello and there's a pause and you hear a click, which means they're clicking into whatever's going to play next.
Right.
And it'll be.
And that's your cue to hang up.
Hi, this is Angie calling about your Medicare plan, and I'm like, thanks, Angie. No thanks. So. Okay. Oh well, you had to. you've got work to do.
Yes, there are some things that are on the books. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Yes, of course. Always
Yes,
happy to
thank
be
you.
here.
And
Yes.
thank you for your service to the community. We are a better, safer community with you in it.
Well,
We
thank
really
you,
are.
Jim. That means a lot. Thank you. And thank you, Margie.
Yes,
for calling.
and tell Maverick hello. for us.
Absolutely, yes. He is probably taking his, fifth nap of the day, probably. He works
Well,
very hard.
Policing is hard work.
Oh, yeah. He has a very hard job getting cookies with Chief every morning. Yes.
She spoils him.
Well, yes, absolutely. It's Maverick.
Give our best to Chief Cressy.
Of course,
And,
yes.
I mean,
Thank you.
her and her leadership team have, I mean, we are a much better community because we have a much better police department.
Yeah, all right.
And
Absolutely.
because of her leadership here over the years.
Absolutely. Yes, I will definitely give her
All right.
your
Yes.
best.
All right,
Absolutely.
we
Thank
missed
you
her
all.
this morning, but we can always get her on.
Right.
Of course- yes,
Well,
absolutely.
You can't always. I've been trying I've tried several times over the years, and she did grace us a couple of times, and then
Right. Well-
we haven't gotten much love since then. So.
Well, but she's a very busy chief.
Oh, I know
Yes.
that.
Oh,
I
yes.
know that.
Very busy.
And,
Yes.
and
Well, but tell her we both said hello.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely
Thank you
will.
so much
Thank
for
you
coming
all.
in.
Yes. Have a good
and
rest of
give
your
our
day.
best to, what's your dog's name again?
Maverick.
Maverick. That's
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of Maverick, the old TV show. With James Garner, I think was the
No,
star.
Or the
Tom,
Tom Cruise thing.
Exactly.
No, I'm thinking the Western show. I'm way beyond Tom Cruise. That's where he was born.
Oh, goodness.
Showing my age, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. And we'll have to have you back on. And
course.
Maverick.
Absolutely,
Of course,
yes.
he's a dog of few words, I guess.
Yeah.
But it depends on the day now, Jim. Sometimes he can be very chatty.
Well, our dog's the same way. He's trained us. When he wants something, he lets us know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's got a certain bark or a certain whatever
Yes. Oh, yeah, he does too.
to communicate.
And he and I are together 24/7, so we definitely know what each other want and need.
What's his favorite treat? Just curious. Does he have one? Any treat?
Anything. It don't matter. Anything.
Does he wait by the table and hope something will fall off?
Yes, he does.
Yeah. Our dog has
Yeah.
the best hearing in the world. He hears anything hit the floor. It can be a ramen noodle. And he's like, huh? What?
Yeah,
Food?
He is the same way.
Thank you again, Olivia.
Yes, thank you both.
Take care.
You too.
All right. Let's see. Well, Margie, we don't have another commercial spot to run, so it's me and you through the top of the hour.
All right.
We need to touch on this. You mentioned Medicare Advantage.
Right.
And just for those who are approaching Medicare sign-up, periods or age, Medicare Advantage is, there are plenty of hazards if you sign up for Medicare Advantage.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that
Yeah,
up.
it is not traditional Medicare. It is a private insurance that Congress allowed them to give them the name Medicare.
Yeah, you're giving up your privilege.
Right, you're giving up the full benefit of Medicare for Medicare Advantage. And of course, we are bombarded with all of these benefits. They can, a card to use for groceries, and
Right.
there's all these benefits. But what you will find, and of course my wife's in healthcare,
Yeah.
is that Medicare Advantage will, the things they cover, they will not cover for as long as regular Medicare will. And they have restrictions, and so many restrictions, and of course in healthcare you can find many examples of people with Medicare Advantage who only get a limited amount of coverage for services.
Right. And what people need to understand is how this stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
Because in regular Medicare, you pay a certain amount every month.
Right.
But for covered services, they will cover 20%, all but 20%.
Right.
And then you can buy private insurance just to help cover once you've done your deductible or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
to have it cover that. They only pay out, Medicare only pays out when you have something done.
Right.
When you have used a service, that's when that kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
With the Medicare Advantage plans, these Advantage plans are paid a certain amount for every person that they sign up.
Right.
Then they have to pay out for whatever services are happening. It is in their best interest to deny as many services as possible and to not pay for things. So people, once you start, if you're not needing services, if you're as healthy as a horse, then a lot of these things, well, yeah, that sounds really good. I can get dental, I can get this, I can
Right.
get that.
Right.
But what people are finding out is that when it comes to critical things like like expensive tests or operations or intensive medical services, a lot of times they are denied or they pay very little. And because it's in these insurance companies are in there to make money.
Right, and they make
and
money
the way they make money is not paying out what the government is paying them
Right. Yeah,
to cover those services.
They get a pot of money for each individual.
Absolutely.
And so it's in their interest to make it difficult to approvals. They deny
Right, exactly.
services.
For medicines, you can't you can't get medicines you need.
Well-
It just for anyone who suffers the normal aging problems with your health, it is not a good deal.
No. Then, and I can tell you that my wife's told me stories over the years of Medicare Advantage. Of course, she's a physical therapist, and if you, of course, as we get older, we're more prone to falls and those types of injuries. And Medicare will pay for physical therapy services, occupational therapy services, speech therapy services to help people recover from stroke, falls, other injuries. Medicare Advantage, however, will restrict the amount of those services,
Right.
and will not pay as much as services for as long as regular Medicare will.
Right. If you, your wife's a perfect example of that because I know if you talk to anybody who works in a hospital, who especially in the administration of a hospital, they will. You ask them who they were going to have for Medicare, they're going to have regular Medicare,
Right.
Because it is the best.
Right, absolutely, and that and those Medicare Advantage has restrictions that that are not in the patient's best interest. For the health of the patient.
No, not really.
No. If they only pay for a fraction of the services that Medicare will,
Right.
And Medicare, of course, doesn't waste money. If your medical provider can't prove the need for these services, they won't pay it.
No, they
and
won't.
that's understandable.
Right.
But if there's a medical need, they will pay. Medicare Advantage is more along the line of let's deny, let's make it difficult to get claims.
Well, they do. They try to outweight you.
Right.
And then sometimes they outweight so the person dies before they can get any treatment.
Right. And that's
But it just is, people just don't understand because there's really no, I've got a lot of information from the AARP. The Association for for retired people, and they send out monthly publications, and they have a lot of information in there, and it is for the good of it's not making money for anybody.
Right.
It is just providing information and services to retired people to try to steer them in the way that to
For their
show
best.
them.
Yeah.
They don't tell you to do this or tell you to do that, but they just say, look, this is what happens here, and this is what happens here.
Now, if you watch the news occasionally, and you will hear this, that a medical system, a hospital system, will announce that they will no longer take a certain brand of Medicare Advantage coverage because they were unable to strike a deal to get payment, sufficient payment. And so eventually, now most of those disagreements get worked out, but usually not in the favor of the
Patient.
Of the patient.
Yeah.
And the reason these medical systems, they want to get paid and reimbursed for their services. And Medicare Advantage's goal of all those plans is to spend as little as possible.
Absolutely.
And again, like you said, Margie, if you're in wonderful health, well, God bless you. But if you're in someone who's in need of services, Medicare Advantage will be there, but you don't know when the coverage ends.
Right.
And what you're going to have to deal with.
And how frustrating it's going to be if they keep denying you the medicine that you need, or the test that you need, or the operation that you need.
Right. And of course, regular Medicare pays 80%.
Right.
And then you can there are they're called Medigap plans.
Right.
It's private health insurance to cover what Medicare wants.
Right, to cover that, to help cover that 20%.
Right.
And that is, it is, you can pretty well judge on, how you're going to, but the serious operations, and I've had some serious operations, and they will take care of it.
Right.
Regular Medicare will take care of it.
Right. And I'll tell you what I found was wonderful in my search for both Part D and drug coverage and Medigap is that Medicare has, they have licensed providers in every state.
Right.
So not all plans are, not all.
No, you have to choose a plan.
Yeah. But you have plenty of options.
Yeah, you do, and they will tell you what those options are.
Right.
So.
And for example, when I was shopping for a drug coverage, of course, Medicare knows all your prescriptions, and so you can judge the plans by what those out-of-pocket costs are going to be on your medications that you currently have. Of course, you don't know how, the new ones might be down the road, but I have some pretty high-priced prescriptions, and so when I was doing my shopping, I was looking for the best coverage I could get. And one of them was actually an AARP sponsored plan. And of course, now my wife and I had been members years ago, and we let it lapse. But of course, to sign up for any of their insurance plans, you had to be a member again.
Well,
and that was
it's $15 a year.
Right. And it's good information. The publication that they send out.
It really is.
It's worth that.
It absolutely
just
is.
for education. Now, of course, AARP gets a little political, but you just have to understand that. The information you provide isn't all political. It's good
no,
information.
The information isn't. Just because they happen to disagree with a current political stand of a party is not the same thing as not giving you good advice on what to do or not to do.
Right. And conversely, there's also AMAC, which is, I don't remember what the acronym is, but it's
AMAC?
AMAC. It's the kind of conservative Republican version of AARP, except they do not have all the affiliate plans and that they're associated with. It's just if you're not happy with the political stance of AARP, you have another senior-related organization you can join if you want. You know, and I will tell you though, I've enjoyed their publication too, but they are very political. You know, in what they have.
Well,
and so
I
if you're
mean,
not interested in that, then
I guess I don't see politics in there. I just see what it's trying to get the most services for people.
Right. Well, that's why we're part of AARP
Right,
now.
yeah.
Because in the past we'd been part of AMAC just to see what it was. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Margie, we are out of time.
Okay.
All right, Margie and I will be back next Wednesday with another Bradford and Brooks and another studio guest. Who do we have on the schedule, Margie?
And so next week we will have Terry Gohagan, who will talk about how our constitutional rights are being championed and being helped preserve by the court system.
Right.
To assure that your constitutional rights are not being abrogated.
Right.
In any way. And September is Constitution Month.
Right.
This is the month that the U.S. Constitution was signed into law, and so we celebrate that every year.
All right. Well, Margie, we're out of time.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next Wednesday with another Bradford and Brooks.
Yeah.